March appears to be going out like a lion, as winter images like these may not be done just yet, with some parts of the country potentially seeing some of their heaviest snow totals of 2024. In fact, the latest from the Climate Prediction Center, the 6 to 10 day outlook, is showing cold air intruding out of Canada thanks to the weakening of the polar vortex, and that'll quickly expand across days 8 through 14, taking us to the last week of March. And at the same time we have this going on, we're going to see above normal precipitation from coast to coast from day 6 through 10, taking us out to the 25th, and that will continue straight to the end of the month, going through March 29th. So what does that mean for potential snow totals in your parts of the country? Well, we'll take a detailed look. Coming your way next. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weather Nerds YouTube channel. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, making a difference one subscriber at a time. And if you like what you see with this report, please help me out. Hit the thumbs up. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell so you learn on future content. And leave me a comment, as it really does help with the YouTube algorithm, as me and the YouTube algorithm are kind of duking it out right now. All right, we're taking a look at the current conditions. We're going to go ahead and zoom in here and take a look at the water vapor imagery. As you can see, your attention being drawn to that big swirl across the desert southwest. That's an area of low pressure cutoff low that's sitting there. It's going to be sitting there for a few days, as we're going to see milder temperatures in the west and a bit of a cooler shot coming down across the eastern third of the United States. But that is going to slowly change as we go later into the month. So what we're going to be seeing is a change in the jet stream pattern that's going to usher in colder temperatures out the west, as well as a very progressive stormy pattern that's going to bring in a lot of precipitation. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the latest model data. We're going to be focusing on the American GFS model and see what it shows. So we're going to begin focusing on that river air known as a jet stream. It's responsible for driving weather systems across the country. So we're at about 30,000 feet. And you're going to notice a big change in this jet stream pattern as we go through the end of the month. So let me go and get on out of here, as that low pressure that you're seeing across the southwest is going to be stuck there probably until about Wednesday and Thursday of the upcoming week here, as that ridge is going to slowly erode down that's out into the west. But in the meantime, as we go into the early portion of the new work week, as we go into the 18th and 19th, we got a pretty good dive of some cold air across the eastern third of the United States. That low pressure just kind of stuck there. It won't begin to move until we get to about Wednesday or so. And as we go into Wednesday and Thursday, it'll start to slowly kick on out. And as it does so, it's going to allow the pattern to begin to slowly change over time. As we're going to watch some of this cold air kind of filtering across the western third of the United States as we go into the following weekend. In fact, as that trough digs out into the west, we're going to see it begin to build a big ridge in the eastern third of the United States, and that could set up a round of severe weather as we go into about the 25th of the Monday later into the month. So it's something very closely that needs to be watched, as we're going to be seeing the colder temperatures driving in here across the west, clashing with that ridging and warmer air out ahead of it here into the east. And that'll set up the potential for heavy snows across the high plains, thanks to that cold air in the Intermountain region as we head into the last week of the month of March. So as we go ahead and take a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly map here, we're going to watch that high pressure ridge. That's that red region over western Canada. It's going to slowly break down, and we're going to see a new one take shape over Alaska. And when that typically happens, that usually allows the cold air across Canada to come on down as we see this pattern shift begin to occur. So you got this one system that's diving across the east. We're going to kick that some rain across the southeast as we go into Sunday. Should clear by the time we head into Monday. And then with that new ridge of high pressure, you see the building red there across Alaska. That's going to allow some cold air to kind of come on down, and a new trough to set up across the western portion of the United States. You see the blue kind of increasing there across the west coast as we go into the following Sunday. And as it swings on out, almost like a pendulum, it's going to get into what we call a negative position as we go into the following Monday. And that's what's going to allow the potential for active severe weather as we start the last week of March. So this is something, although still about 9 to 10 days out, we're going to have to watch this very closely, as this could be a classic severe weather setup a little bit later in the month of March. So we're going to drop down to about 5,000 feet. That's the 850 millibar level. We're going to look at the temperatures here as we're going to track the first cold shot across the eastern third of the United States to begin the new work week. And then we'll show you that classic clash of the air masses that could set up the potential for that active severe weather later in the month, as well as a pretty heavy snowstorm across the high plains. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at that as we go ahead and take a look at the cold air that we're expected here across the eastern third of the United States, and it's going to come down as we go into Sunday and Monday. You can see this quite clearly as that cold air settles in across the eastern third of the United States, across the Great Lakes, settling all the way into the deep south as we go into your Monday. As you can see, the freezing line well down toward the south here, sitting at about 5,000 feet. So we're going to see a pretty cold morning, especially going into Tuesday, before we see things begin to moderate once again. And as we go forward in the time here, you notice how warm it is out into the west. Very mild, very warm out there for right now. But the cold air is really going to be setting up across the high plains as we go through this forecast period. So you notice it starts to break down. We're seeing that cold air starting to intrude here across the northern portion of the United States, across the Dakotas and Minnesota. And it's going to sit there. It's not going to be in a big hurry, as we saw there on the climate outlook here. And as that next big dip in the jet stream comes in across the west, off the west coast, and starts to move into the Intermountain region, and that cold air that's kind of in place, you're going to see things begin to set up for that classic clash of air masses. Here you see the low pressure starting to form there across Kansas, and notice how cold it is across the high plains there. That's what's going to fall as snow up that way, but we've got a very strong southerly flow here, so it's very warm air. You got this cold air coming in here as well, so the clash of the air masses in here is going to set up for that severe weather potential sitting right through this region here on Monday and going into your Tuesday, and that is what we're going to watch very closely here over the next 10 days. If this setup sets up 10 days out like right now, this will be a classic severe weather setup that will be stretching from the Midwest down into the southern plains and into the southeastern portion of the United States. Now, of course, this is still 10 days out and is subject to change, but with the pattern shift coming our way and we're into that time of year, it would not be a big surprise to see this work out this far out. All right, so starting late here on our Saturday, as we progress through the weekend, we're going to see some rains across the southeast as that colder temperatures and that dive of cold air settles into the northeast. Just a little bit of snows across areas up into New England, but really most of the country not looking too bad for most of the weekend. Still dealing with some snows out in the west with that cutoff low feature out there. But as we go through early next week, we'll see another little weak disturbance kind of roll on out here as we go through Texas. You'll see that as we go through the middle of the week. That's kind of the leftover energy of that upper low kind of kicking on out here. And type of some Gulf of Mexico moisture, could bring some rains and some thunderstorms across Texas as we go into Thursday morning. You'll notice some snows across the high plains as well with a little, that's the initial start of that cold air that'll be settling in across the high plains before that big dip in the jet stream comes in off the west coast. That'll set up that active weather as we're expecting as we head into the last week of March. So the weekend looking a little wet there on Friday across areas of the deep south on March the 22nd. Some snows across the Great Lakes. A little bit of rain coming in out on the west coast as we go throughout the day on Friday, and some wet weather across the Carolinas as well. And as we go through Saturday and Sunday, that's when we'll start to see the active weather as a deepening trough there across the California region. And you notice the snows there across areas of the high plains with a developing area of low pressure right in through areas of Colorado. Classic Colorado setup here as we go through the weekend. Heavy snows across areas of Minnesota into Wisconsin, and as that low pressure pulls out into Kansas throughout the day on Monday, watch the explosion of thunderstorms in response there from Missouri down through Oklahoma and Texas, and stretching down into areas of Louisiana as well, and some very heavy snows on the backside of this low pressure from the Dakotas back to Nebraska and into parts of Colorado. And this will spread off toward the east into the southeast and across areas of Arkansas and into Illinois as we end up wrapping up the day on your Monday. So again, this could be a significant severe weather event later in the month, a significant snowstorm for the high plains and areas that have not seen a whole lot of snow at all for most of the winter. So we're going to first focus in here on the snow amounts for the Four Corners region, that because of that cutoff low feature. Now, also keep in mind, when you go into the month of March, the snow totals tend to be higher because the atmosphere tends to hold more water, because when you got a temperature of about 30 to 32 degrees, you're going to have higher water content available than, say, if you're sitting at 20, 25 degrees. So let me get out of here, and we're going to watch the snow here as we go into this upcoming weekend, or go through the weekend and into early next week, thanks to the snow from that cutoff low feature that are going to be sitting there for just a few days. So as we go forward here into time, you're going to notice the snows there increasing across the areas of Colorado, Utah, into areas of New Mexico and Arizona through the weekend, thanks to that cutoff low. So the higher elevations, 6 to 12 inches, not out of the question. And also you're noticing the snows there across areas of the Northeast as well as we go into Monday, thanks to that colder shot of air across the Northeast and through the Great Lakes region, but not really going to amount to a whole lot there as we go through the upcoming weekend. Then it stays relatively quiet until we get to about Thursday or so. That's when we get that initial cold push of air across the Canadian border coming into areas of North Dakota, and you're noticing that snow path coming out of Canada, going into areas of Minnesota and into Wisconsin. That's that initial snow push. And then we're going to see the snows increasing all throughout the West, thanks to that deepening trough of low pressure swinging in with the pattern shift coming in, and you'll see the snows kicking up across areas of Colorado into Idaho and increasing across Montana. But we're going to wait for that low pressure system to develop as we go into Sunday, the 24th, and into the 25th. And that's what's going to allow that snows to really pick up. I'll back this up again, once again, through South Dakota, coming into areas of extreme northern Iowa, into portions of Minnesota, and into the areas of Wisconsin. And you're seeing those higher colors there. That's indicative of over a foot of snow, if not feet of snow, across areas of southern Minnesota and in extreme northern Iowa as we go throughout the day there on your Monday. And I'm going to stop it there at the end of the day on Monday. And we're going to highlight some of these totals for you. And we're talking, again, in feet. So look at this area in here. We're talking 35 inches of snow. We're talking 37 inches of snow across areas of Minnesota and stretching into Wisconsin. So I'm only taking this out 10 days, and you're noticing also here across over a foot of snow across areas of South Dakota, even getting some heavier snows down here across areas of Nebraska and into Kansas, and a lot of the Intermountain region seeing the higher elevations well over a foot of snow, as well as into feet of snow for areas of the Sierra Nevada in California. So a lot of areas in the west are going to get a significant amount of snow, especially the high plains. Should we see the development of that area of low pressure pulling out, that'll set up the severe weather in the plains and maybe blizzard conditions for the high plains as we head into the 25th of March. Now, of course, we're talking about a storm system that's about 9 to 10 days out. So we're just kind of throwing up the red flare, a yellow alert for this particular situation as we watch this far out. We just know that we're heading into spring. We're into that time of year. So whenever you're looking at a change in the weather pattern, which looks very likely here, that we could potentially see a round of some very active severe weather across the central portion of the country. And with that cold air in place, we could see a very significant, the highest snow totals we've seen all winter long for areas of the high plains as we head in toward the end of March, officially getting into the first week of spring. Hard to believe, right? Well, hey, that's my report for right now. If you liked what you saw, again, I would appreciate your help. I'm going to beat the YouTube algorithm back if I got to beat it with a stick. So help me out here. All you got to do is give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content, and leave me a comment. You got any questions? I'm always happy to respond to your questions and help you out as best I can. Again, this product is to serve you guys out there, and the bigger audience I get, the better information I can get to more and more people. I just want to get more people involved with this channel. All right, that's it for now. You guys take it easy. We'll see you on the next update. Until then, be good, stay safe, and have a great weekend. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye for now.